If you've just been living under a rock and you haven't been on Twitter lately and you're in the AI space like we are, then you totally missed how everyone is talking about loops. What are loops? Now, there's a lot of negativity, in my opinion, that I've seen on Twitter with countless people that are totally just piling on top of Peter Steinberger, who was one of the ones that tweeted it that caused all the controversy. But then also Boris Cherny from Anthropic, he said something a week before that, if I'm not mistaken. On the pro side of loops, people are saying, yes, it's correct. Let's stop prompting agents and instead have agents prompt other agents, which in theory creates a loop. And then there's the other side where people are saying, well, that's easy for these people that work for these LLM companies to say that because A, it burns more tokens, and B, you're gonna get AI slop. And at the end of the day, they just want more tokens burned because it's more money for them. And honestly, I think both sides are right. I'm not gonna pick a side per se, but I do see sides where loops have worked for me with my Hermes agent, and I'm gonna showcase that. But then I've also seen sides where it's backfired and it's kind of put me in a little bit of a hole with usage. This is the tweet that sparked it right here. So Peter said, here's your monthly reminder that you shouldn't be prompting coding agents anymore. You should be designing loops that prompt agents. 5.2 million views, and people went bonkers. If I just view some of the quote tweets right here, we have somebody that's breaking down agent looping. We have somebody that says the AI grift in a nutshell. Dude produces slop for a living. It's called loop engineering meme. So you can just see a lot of people you could see there is just a ton of people that are upset about this. And honestly, that's just how Twitter goes. Boris Cherny said the same thing. He's the head of Claude Code at Anthropic. He tweets all the time too, but he said it in a video. I don't prompt Claude anymore. I have loops running that prompt Claude and figuring out what to do. My job is to write loops, and this is transition we're going to see for the rest of the year. I have two examples of loops that work really well for us. I have a lot of loops that are in workflow styles that work very well for us, but I'm not going to get into some of those because I want to keep this video concise, short. A loop in theory is where an agent is prompted to do something, it then goes and does something, and then it repeats it nonstop in a simple way. Now you can imagine how the people that are so against this are angry because it can burn tokens, it can just do AI slop, because at the end of the day, if AI is prompting AI, it's AI slop, which in theory is correct. Then there's the other side, which is what I've kind of uncovered, where I feel loops can be super healthy, and I do see them being the future, especially how much more intelligent that they're getting. And honestly, I just made a video about this, I think my latest video, which is all about approval gates that need to be built in workflows. It's kind of compounding onto that because I think a loop in theory is just a workflow for the most part, or an automation of it, but the approval gates is what's going to stop the AI slop and the token burns. Two examples I have is one is the source loop, which has been one of my best loops I've had. I have, with now the new Twitter API, I have it crawl my Twitter account for my For You page on a daily level, and it's searching out tweets that people have promoted based on their OS for their agent harness, whatever the case may be, because I want to learn from other people, because people find and uncover a lot of great things. So it's been a great loop that has worked for me because every day it hits, that file stays local, and then twice a week I have it where our agent comes back to us and says, hey, this is the past 3 days, these are the findings that we've had, what do you want to push? There are certain things where if I am just constantly having it push all these things people are saying into my system live, you can see how it eventually can get contradicting. And that's what we don't want. The agent essentially looks for the source, which is on Twitter. It classifies to get context and make sure this is fitting. It routes it to the agent, and then it asks me for approval. Now, if this approval gate didn't exist, in theory, this is a problem. It's constantly doing this loop, and it's just adding things that I don't really want it to. There are some things that might be contradicting. There are some things that might be too complex for us right now, and that's why there should be an approval gate which stops it in its tracks. The second one is a hygiene loop, which I can actually showcase as one of my favorite workflows that I do regularly. Essentially, every single morning at 7:30 a.m., I have it report back to me on how our Hermes agent is doing, or our OS. So You can see with pulling back the curtain a little bit, today's finding had a lot of fixes. We've been doing a lot of work recently, but because of this script that is run daily, it's always going to look for files that are missing, that aren't connected correctly. We have a library in place and we need to make sure all files are logged. That way when agents go to search for files, they can find them through the library. It's just all about clutter we want out and organization we want in. So you can see it found a profile skill surface gap, which was my agent orchestration profiles, active cron prompt positioning drift. So with this loop, it's coming to me now and saying, hey, what do you want to fix? Now, I already went through all of these and I read them just for the sake of this example. Approve all, because they all work, and it will essentially get to work. It will start fixing all these things, and I have it set wherever it runs into an issue, it comes back to me. It cannot create any new folder or edit anything without my approval. Now, I just approved it here. I have given it a little bit of a leeway where if it finds certain things that it thinks it needs a second opinion on, it comes to me. But that's all because of the way I have built it. I have built this loop where it's purposely doing what it needs to be doing, and it has hard gates that tell you no, you cannot do things, and it needs approval gates in certain areas, which is the decide right here. And then there's areas where I have it set to know what kind of guardrails it's in. What is it looking for? If I'm just sending out a dog without the leash, it's gonna run all over the place. But if I'm sending this agent for specific task of searching for hygiene, starting with like the most recent things we changed and fixing it constantly, looking for things based on our standards that we have. So make sure you have procedures in place in your OS to understand that, you will get better results. In theory, this loop is doing something every single day, and it could just be burning tokens if it was fixing a lot of things that it shouldn't be. So in theory, no, I'm not really against loops, but I'm also not necessarily for loops. I have had a loop with our ecom brand. I remember we were reaching out to UGC creators. We had it plugged into an MCP with a website, and it was constantly searching for the right creators, sending DMs, sending emails if they had in their bios, and it was doing that continuously. Well, somewhere along the way, we didn't have an approval gate, so there was no way for me to approve on who it was sending to, because I did want it to be automated because I was sending out hundreds per day. I didn't have time to go through them. But one day I checked, and there was a really big flaw inside of one of our markdown files where it was looking for a totally different target audience than it should have been. Not sure how it slipped through the cracks, but it did. And that was like 4 days that it went with that, of totally sending DMs to the totally wrong people. And there was so much usage in tokens that was burnt up, it destroyed us. That is a bad example of a loop. If you're not careful, that can happen. And I see why people are up in arms over it. But it really comes down to how clean have you built your business's brain, your OS. If you are structuring it and working on it continuously, sort of like I am, I'm always critiquing our OS, making changes, adding in rules, putting in guardrails, and I learned that it's getting so much better over time, and Hermes Agent is just phenomenal with that anyways. So loops can be beneficial if done correctly, but if you're just getting started with an agent harness and learning how to build out an OS, I recommend slowing down on building these complex workflows that have loops, and instead start with some of the basics, like making sure your OS is clean, it's tidy, and it's not going to cause any problems for you down the road. So I hope that kind of helps a little bit with what's going on in the space, because there is a lot of negativity from what I've seen on Twitter. I think it's rightfully due at some extent, but also I think we can clear the smoke a little bit on the benefits of loops if done correctly. I make videos like this all the time because I believe that agent harnesses are the future when done correctly with OSs. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. It goes a long way for the YouTube algorithm, as you probably know. I believe that me and my co-founder, what we're doing with agent harnesses and implementing it into any business model out there, landscapers, accounting firms, SaaS companies, you name it, we believe that these can enhance businesses, and we want to help implement it as much as you can. So if you are interested, we have a link in my bio to our website and how we kind of go about doing that. Once again, thank you for watching. This hopefully helps some people with what's going on with current events in the AI space, and I strongly believe that there is a world where loops can be beneficial if done correctly.